Hey everybody, Kelly here. So today we're going to be working on just a couple little projects. Actually a few little projects now that I think about it. One I'm going to try to get done, and the other one I already know that I'm not going to finish. It's going to be more of a block of a month kind of a project. So first one is from the 2024 Cupid box from FatQuartershop. So called Better Together. This is such a cute little pattern, and I'm hoping that this is the one that I get finished right away so I can put it out. Even though it's after Valentine's, we'll put it out for a week or so. So hopefully I can get that done today. And then next project is the Heartfelt quilt along from 2022 from FatQuartershop, their charity Make-A-Wish charity quilt along. I ordered the kit back then and I followed along with Kimberly on FatQuartershop on YouTube, but I just didn't have, I had other projects going, I believe, and so I just didn't get this one done. So I'm doing it this year. I'm hoping that it's a 6 to 7 month project. I think there's 7 blocks. There might be 8. But I was going to try to get it done in 6 months. So this week we're just going to do block number 1. Let me get into the pattern here. So the pattern is still free on FatQuartershop website, but they do encourage that you make a donation to Make-A-Wish. So, and I would encourage that too. So yes, we're going to do block 1. And then I hope block 2 that I will actually be completing block 2 of the Heartfelt quilt along with block 1 of the Moonbeams quilt for 2024. I think it's Moonbeams. I'm pretty sure that's the name of it. And I think Kimberly's starting that in March. And so, yes. So yeah, there's the pattern for, part of the pattern for block 1. So, yeah. I'm just trying to remember myself here exactly how many blocks, but I'll catch you up next time. So, yeah, those 2 projects, and then I am actually working on the cross stitch as well for the Heartfelt sew along, stitch along, I guess it was. Obviously I'm not stitching along because everybody else is done and I'm behind, but I am working on it. And let's see, a couple other little odds and ends that I'll throw in throughout the video here. So I hope you enjoy, and yeah, let's get started on block number 1. Or actually, now that I think about it, let's get started on Better Together first. Let's do that. All right. So, this is one of the ways that I try to get things done fairly quickly. Well, not quickly. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what word I want to use here. Maybe try to get 2 things done at the same time in a sort of way. So these hearts here, these could have easily just been cut off and cut into scraps, but I like to go ahead and sew not only the edge for this, but then turn around and actually sew the other edge, so that literally I'm just cutting down this and I have 2 different pieces. Now I can take all of these and put them into another block somehow. So, not exactly sure what I'm going to do with them all, but I'm going to go ahead and iron them down right now, and they won't be part of this particular project, but I will come up with something else for them. Maybe a block for the back, or it may be, you know, a pot holder, a bag, a backing for a cross stitch, something. But I just figure I'll go ahead and sew it right now while I'm actually sewing this line down. Just flip it around, sew the other one. So it does cost me time making this project, but I don't have to go back again and try to piece all of these together and get the right ones together, etc. I can just do it right now and be done with it. So that's what I'm doing. It is going to take me a little bit to get them all ironed down, though. And I could just finger press them, but honestly, something of this size, I like to go ahead and iron it and then cut them down, or trim them down to probably 1.5 inch blocks for these. Not blocks, but pieces. And I probably just got that out of order. Because that's another thing, they'll be in sets of 2 as long as I don't mess them up, which I think I might have just done. So I will take a look here, and yep, I did. So I'll have to finish ironing them out here, and I'll put them together in sets when I stack them again. That way when I go to do whatever I'm going to do, I will have the two alikes together already. Most likely, pinwheels is probably my most common thing, especially when they're in sets like this. Cupid box pattern better together. Finished top. Well, I thought it was a finished top, but not really. I want to show you something. So you see the little tool here next to the birds? That's actually, I can't remember what it's called, but it's a tool that I got in the Missouri Advent box. It's a pretty common little tool that you use to actually cut apart chain piecing. So I had noticed a while back that when I was using that, if my tension gets a little bit off, when I go to then, put the pieces over the cutter, you can get a problem where it actually starts to cut into the threads of the item. So like I would have sewed these 2 blocks together, and so when it cut the threads, it disturbed the tension on them. So that's what I've got going on here. I actually found 2 of these on this quilt, so my tension must have been a little bit off as well. And then when I put that pressure on there, it actually separated, cut the thread, and yeah, just too little tension in there. So it's actually going to be a fairly easy fix. The second spot's really easy. I just need to put 1 stitch in. This one, I may need to actually put in 2 stitches, and in reality, what I should do is actually cut these couple of stitches right here, and then stitch these 2 fabrics back together, and then restitch these fabrics together. But I think I'm going to be able to fudge. I think I'm just going to do it by hand, and I think I can fudge it just to draw those 2 fabrics a little bit closer together without really having to cut it all apart. I might have to, but we'll see. Anyhow, I just wanted to come in and say, hopefully nobody else has had that problem. Well, I should say I think several people probably have, because I have seen some posts about it. I still use it. I just knew going into this particular project that I have to watch my tension, but apparently I didn't on this particular one, and so now I have to fix that. But that little fix there, 1 little stitch in another spot, and honestly, even the time that it's costing me to do this, I find this much easier than grabbing my scissors. So, but I do find that I am going to have to pay much more attention going forward to make sure that my tension is okay. Also, we won't talk about the fact that my points don't match up. No, it's still a pretty cute little table topper, so I can't wait to Let's figure out how I'm going to quilt it. I don't know. I might just do an overall meander. Although you know, the whole vibe is hearts, so maybe I'll do hearts, but I don't know. We'll see. I may not even get it finished for this video, so if I don't get it finished for this video, give me some comments on what I should do. I almost forgot, I still have to put the borders on too. Well, I better get that done. Well, I needed to get up from my sewing table, so I'm not quite done with my... I keep forgetting the name of it. With the bird table topper, or wall hanging, which I think I'm going to use it for a table topper. But I'm not quite done with it, but I needed to get up from my sewing machine, so I'm actually going to go ahead and start cutting the fabrics for the Heartfelt quilt. So there's my little box right over here. I'm going to turn you down. Alright, let's open her up and take a look. So I haven't got everything starched just yet either, so I may have to do that first and then come back with the cutting. Well, no may about it. I will have to do that first and then come back with the cutting. But, alright. Nice big bundle of fabric. And I love that box. It's so cute. It's going to store a lot of goodies in it. But in fact, it will store all the blocks until I get them sewn together. So what I think I'm going to do here is actually start cutting, well, at least the first couple of blocks, and then I'll go from there. But I just wanted to open this up and get a good look at the fabrics, because I couldn't remember. I did kind of follow along when Kimberly was doing the quilt along in 2022. I just didn't have the time to make the quilt myself, so yeah, so it was Corey Yoder fabric, and I believe the line was called Beautiful Day. I'm not sure that you can still order any of it, but if you look on Etsy or eBay, you might find some there. And I always love these I can't think of the word I want to use, but it's really nice and long. Makes good, well, it's good for all kinds of things. Last year I tied up my blackberries with it. There's some, you can use it for bag handles, that sort of thing. Ooh, aren't they pretty? Pretty, pretty, pretty. So it looks like the kit had a couple of fat eighths, I can't say it right, and probably some fat quarters and some half yards, and of course all the backing. And I don't remember if that was the binding. Let me see. It's got to be it, because I don't see it in here. Yep, it's the binding. Alright, well, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and starch these, and then I will get to cutting in a little bit. So the first thing I do before I even starch, before I even cut, is make sure that I can get my 76.5 inch strips out of this. So it shouldn't be any problem. It should be a 108. But let me take a look here. It's not, it's just a 5-yard cut. So I am going to need to measure out 76.5 inches. Probably measure out 80 inches. Cut a hunk off. Set that aside for the strips. And I will start by starching the other piece then. Okay. 36. This is going to be pretty rough. I'm just going to get a basic idea. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'll probably cut right about here actually to give myself a little bit extra length. And I will fold this in half. As soon as I can find it. Yeah, so I'm just going to cut out my sashing and borders out of this before I starch it. And make sure that, I'm going to cut out hunks from what's left of the fabric, and I just wanted to make sure that I was going to leave myself something that was long enough. So, that's all I'm doing here. Alright, I'll bring you back when I get this done. Okay, block 1 of the FatQuartershop 2022 Heartfelt Quilt Along. So block 1 actually calls for a background squares cut into 20 squares of 3.5 by 6.5 inch rectangles. I've got that right here. And then 23.5 inch squares. And I've already got that cut. So that's the background taken care of. Now I just need to cut from each of these 5 prints right here. And the first one that I'm going to do is actually a 1/2 yard cut, and then the other 4 are fat quarters, so I'll cut all those together. But for my 1/2 yard cut, I need to cut, I need to make each of these cuts C, D, and E. So, the nice thing about FatQuartershop patterns is that they actually have a cutting diagram in the pattern. So you can look at your fabric style and see how it's supposed to be cut. So this particular one is actually showing, I would say this is probably the 10 3.5 inch squares that we need. And what else was it that I needed? Give me a second here and get to the right page. Oh, come on. 10 3.5 inch squares, 2 2.5 inch squares, and 2 1.25 inch squares. So 10 3.5 inchers and 2.5 inchers, and I'm not real sure what. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong fabric. I can't remember. Anyhow, yeah, this is the right one. So I don't see where there would be 2 1.25. But I think what I'm going to do, since there's so much left here, I'm actually going to go ahead and just cut the whole strip and see what I can get out of the very last pieces. Maybe I can get all 10 3.5 inch squares and two 2.5-inch squares, and two 1 1/4. I may have to take a little chunk out of the rest just to do the 1 1/4-inch squares, but if I can get it out of a strip, that's what I want to do. So, just need to cut the strip out of this first. Alright. Alright, I'm gonna cut myself a clean edge here. And then I will cut a 3.5-inch strip. Alrighty. And actually, two 1 1/4-inch squares. Yeah, that should work. Alright, 3.5. Okay. And then set this aside. Come back here and trim off some salvage. So I may need every last bit of the length on this one, so I'm gonna go ahead and adjust this and cut the salvage off. I think on these there are some salvages that I should cut off in one long piece. So I should have cut this one before I cut the strip out, because I bet it's got some cute sayings on it. Well, not that piece, but the piece that I cut probably could have. Every moment is a fresh beginning. But it cut it off. Actually, I probably didn't. It got cut when it got cut down for the kit. So, but I'm going to pay attention to the rest of the fabrics just to see if they have some nice salvages to use. All right. Kind of doing that a little bit lately. Trying to cut the whole salvage off before actually cutting any strips out of it, just so that I can use some of those salvages in different projects. Alright, so 3.5. I need 10 3.5-inch cuts. So there's 2. 4. 6. And make sure this is going right here. 8. And 10. Alright, then I need 2 2.5-inch squares and 2 1 1/4-inch squares. So, unfortunately, out of 3.5, I don't know that I'll be able to get both of those. Let's start with the 2.5-inch square. In fact, let's do this way. think I'm gonna end up taking a 1 1/4 out of what's left of the hunk. Alright, there's my 2 and 2 1/2 and 1 1/4. Well, maybe I can get it. I'm gonna go a little over 1 1/4 just so I get a straight line. And all right, 1 1/4. Man, that's pretty tiny. I wonder what that piece is for. And 1 1/4. Alright, so 10 3.5-inch squares, 2 2.5-inch squares, and 2 1 1/4 squares. And that is C, D, and E. Get them laid out here. And then of course we have to do these same cuts in the 4 fat quarters. So I will stack these up. And I'll cut those. And then we'll come back for the heart prints. This is what my last letter is for. I think one of the things I always find interesting about working block of the month versus just making the kit all at once is your cutting instructions. So when I do the kit all at once, we want to try to do all the big cuts first. That way you can be sure that if there's a cutting mistake, you're going to be more likely to get your small pieces still than if you work with all, cut all the small pieces and then get to the end and realize you hadn't left a big enough square for one of the larger pieces. But when you're doing a block of the month and you're only going to cut out so much right now, it can get a little bit, it can get confusing because you're not really going to do it that way. So like we're on block 1 right now, and this obviously says that block 3 is the largest print. Now, every one of these that I look at, and they have the diagrams done already, there's plenty left. And so I don't think I'll have any kind of cutting mistakes that are going to make me have to buy more fabric. But it does kind of floor me because like I could probably get more out of this if I do this first, use up what's, if I do this whole strip of whatever size number 3 is, and then get all my little cuts out of this area here. And yeah, so in fact this particular print right here, I really strongly feel like I might be able to, well, no, because 5 times 3.5 is going to be 17.5, and on a 20-inch piece, I might get both of my 2.5 inches out of this, and then 1 1/4. Yeah, I might actually be able to do it. Okay, I'm gonna try it. We'll see. But looking at all these fabrics here that I'm supposed to be cutting right now, let's see. So I got the gray and I got the green one here, and I think the little rose over here. Yeah, number 1, what else did I have? I had the big rose. So that's this one right here. Honestly, I think I'm going to go ahead and cut 2 3.5 inch strips, and we'll see if we can't get the 2 2.5 inchers and the 2 1.25 inchers out of the 2 3.5 inch strips that I'm going to cut. Yeah, in fact, maybe I will cut a 7-inch strip to begin with, and then cut my 3.5 as 3.5 by 7, and then cut them in half. That way, that'll leave this whole chunk right here all as one piece, and then I can cut my 2.5s and my 1.25s out of it. Yep, that sounds like a plan. Okay, so first thing I need to do though is cut off the selvage. So I'm looking at the selvages on these. There's nothing really to speak of here. This one does have, I hope you can see it actually, now that I think about it, you're not on camera. This top one does have a little bit of an expression in it. That was the every moment is a fresh beginning, but I don't know, it's not fantastically cute, so I don't really know if I care about it. And then the other ones don't have anything like that, so I'm just gonna cut it off as close to the selvage edge here as I can, and still feel like it's not too gathered or anything, and then it'll give me as much length as possible to be able to cut out all the 3.5 inchers and the 2.5 inchers and the 2 1.25s that I need. And actually my fabric is not cut particularly well, so I'm trying to see. Yeah, I think this is okay. I got a bad edge on the red, that's why it's, well, you probably can't see. Yeah, this, so that's actually, it's not that it's really so extremely short. Well, it is a bit shorter. It's just that it's kind of want. So actually, I shouldn't say that. It's not really wonky. It's been cut wrong on both sides. And not really wrong, just it's been cut very much like, you know, like the instead of straight. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and grab my long ruler to cut the selvage off of this. And again, I'm gonna get fairly close, make sure I'm getting everything on all of them though. See, like down here on the red. Yep, okay, I'm gonna get it. Get all of it. Okay. I probably need to change my blade. I just realized. Oh, no, that one okay. Okay. Alright, so now let's cut it this way. And again, that red was quite a bit short. So this way some, and yep, I think I'm getting it there. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna cut an awful big strip off of the other ones, but oh well, I'll have some scrap to stuff some pillows. Right, and now I need to cut 3.5 inch well, I'm going to cut 7-inch squares. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and use my mat to cut the 7-inch strip, and then I will cut them down to 3.5-inch squares. Alright, so 12. Need to get to 19. Ooh, and my box is in the way. I'm going to cut just a little bit over 7 because I will cut them down to 3.5-inch squares then. Just like a hair's length. Alright, and that's my excess. Put away my long ruler. And come back in here and actually cut 5 strips, 5 3.5-inch strips off of this. Okay, 3.5. I should get out my stripology ruler here, but this is going to work fine. Yeah, I probably should get it. It would go faster, but too late now. Now it would just slow me down. Three. And 4. I really do use my stripology ruler more than it seems. I mean, I just sometimes when I'm on doing a video, I don't think of it until I'm already starting this way. Alright, so that's going to be my 10 3.5-inch squares, and out of this I just need 2 2.5-inch pieces, so not going to get it out of there, so I will just cut this down to 2.5 right here. Alright. And 2.5. I didn't do much fussy cutting, did I? Well, these are going to be in heart shapes, so they're going to get cut kind of distorted anyway. But see, like that, I should fussy cut for that. But I really feel like it'll probably end up being a point anyway, so it'll get cut in half. And I guess it doesn't really matter. But in theory, that looks better. Alright, and then 1 1/4. Ooh, I think I can get both of them out of this. Honestly, I wonder if I shouldn't try it out of here and just leave this as a scrappy piece. Let's see. Nope, not going to be long enough. Okay. Alright, and 1 1/4. Scrap. 1 1/4. That should both be 1 1/4 since it was cut to 2 1/2. Yes, it is. Okay. So scraps, get rid of that. These scraps we'll keep. And then I need to actually cut these into 3 1/2s. Tell you what, just cut them 2 at a time here. Make sure these are all lined up. Okay. Alright, so I've got all my pieces for the, what are they calling this part of it? Let's see. Pieces for the star prints. Yeah, I figured these are going to get cut in half. Alright, so that's my pieces for the star prints, and now I just got to cut the heart prints. Alright, now I need 2 3 1/2 by 6 1/2 inch rectangles out of 5 different prints. So I have 2 here that are 1/2 yard cuts, and a couple that are 8s, and one that's a fat quarter. So I am going to take the 2 1/2 yard cuts first, and I've got them folded over quite a bit, so I've got, what do I got, 8 layers of fabric here, so this is going to be enough, and I will do the others in a separate cut. Alright, so I'm just going to get myself a clean edge here, which is going to whack off quite a bit, but it is what it is. So, cut myself a clean edge. Maybe that blade is going bad. And I can't really put enough pressure right now. I think I'm in the bad spot on my table, but I got it. Okay. Alright, and I need 3 1/2 by 6 1/2. So let's cut the 3 1/2 inch strip. This particular one's going to have a lot of excess left for all my other pieces, but I looked at the diagram and I think my other blocks call for some smaller pieces that I can cut out of the excess. So, there's that. Go ahead and get this out of the way. Go ahead and open these up. Actually, let's just set it like this. Open this one up. Set it with it. Alright, and I cut off my salvages here. Maybe a little bit more. There we go. Alright, now 3.5 by 6.5. Okay, 6.5. Alright, so that gets me my 2 pieces out of those 2. Throw the scrap over here with this. In fact, we'll just scooch this out of the way. And then I've got these 3 remaining fabrics to cut. Honestly, looking at the diagram, I almost wonder about just cutting these 2 strips at the end. Take a look at it again. So yeah, it's literally these 2 right here. I honestly think I could just, yeah, I'm just gonna cut them right off the end. It might leave me with the biggest hunk of scrap that way. So let's do that. Get myself a clean edge. And turn it around. Get myself a 3.5 inch cut here. Actually, let me look at that again. I wonder what my longest cut was. Now that I think about it. Oh yeah, there's gonna be plenty of room. Okay. And 3.5. I think no matter how I did this, I was going to end up with some scraps, so no biggie. Clean edge. Alright, and then 6.5. I'm going to use my mat because I don't have, well, I can, actually I could, I wasn't thinking. Let me just do it this way. It's just not quite long enough. I'm gonna go slow if you do this. Yep, and then come off the end, and then it twists, and then I'm gonna end up cutting it a little too long. I think it was fine though. Alright, and then yes, I did end up with a couple of scraps. I might just go ahead and cut these down right now. Let's see, 3 inches, yep. There we go. Get rid of all this. So then I've got these pieces, 2 each, plus a scrap, couple of scrap pieces. Actually, no, I think there's some more to cut out of these, so throw those over there. And then I need 2 more out of this. So let me look at this one for the cuts. Let's see. I think it's this one right here. And I think it's... Alright. Well, let me look at block number 4, because I think I'm just going to cut this to 13 inches. And then that will leave that as a whole hunk there. But let me look at block number 4, and I will make the cut on this depending on what I find. Yeah, so block 4 is actually going to be also 2 3.5 by 6.5 inch strips. So, or pieces I should say. And so I'm going to cut it to 13.5 inches by 18. And then I'll have this whole hunk right here that I can put in my scrap bin. So I look at the diagrams sometimes and I think, you know, why don't I just figure out what number 3 and number 5 are and just cut that amount out, and then I may have some scraps from this, but this will stay as a whole section right there, versus the way they're drawn. It's like, okay, I cut a strip here, cut a strip here, cut a strip here, and you end up with a lot of little strips. And it's like, well, if I could have probably worked some of this smaller stuff into this scraps here and ended up with a big old block right here that I could just use the block. So their cutting diagrams are really nice, but sometimes they end up creating a lot of small fabric that didn't need to be small pieces. So, alright, 13 inches. So, this one, I don't think it had a very nice selvage either. Not really. I could cut out the little text there. Sometimes I like put them in little decoupage projects or something like that, but it's not a very big selvage, but I'll go ahead and cut it out here. Maybe keep a little bit of the fabric with it too. Every once in a while I just will come across a little inspirational saying on the selvages, and I just tack it up on my board, or like I said, decoupage it to a frame or something. Just try to come up with something unique. Alright, 11 to 24. Scrap piece, and then 6.5. Yep. Hang on, wait a minute, I gotta think about this. Yep. Good thing I thought about it. I think I need to go this direction. Yes, I do. I don't know what I was thinking there for a second. Okay. And I need 2 3.5 inch pieces. For the block that I'm working on, I'll only need 1 3.5 inch piece. But since I already know I need that for block 4, I might as well go ahead and cut it. Okay. My fabric's a little wonky. I could have tried to pin it a little better and whatnot, but I think we're fine. Alright, now 6.5 inches. That gives me 2 for this block and 2 to set aside for block 4. Alright, so that's all of our cutting. And now let's go ahead and start sewing. I just wanted to take a moment and show you how I kind of organize the blocks so that I can get sewing on all 5 of these really quickly. So the first step we're going to do is make our flying geese out of the background here and the C's here. So I've got them laid out in color order, and then all my other little pieces here I also have laid out in color order so that I can literally pick up each step and work all 5 of them at the same time. So let me show you the pattern here a little bit. So basically we're going to make our flying geese. I've got those all laid out right there, ready to go. Then we're going to do the sides of our heart. So I've got my F's and my D's right here, and then this side as well, F's and D's. And then I have my C's down here for creating the bottom part of the heart, and the E right in there. And so my heart will come together really easy, and we do the flying geese. And when we get done with the flying geese, we're actually going to take half of those and add blocks to each side, and that will create our overall border for the block. So we'll finish with a block looking like that. And I just kind of try to lay it out in a quick and easy way that I can just pick up the whole set and run them through all at once. Alright, let's start with the flying geese. So we're going to need our fabric A and our fabric C's. And we should have 4, let's see, 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 of each. Is that correct? 2, 4. Let me check the pattern just to be sure here. All of a sudden, that just seems odd. So let's make 4 from each set. So 8 total. Okay. All right, 4 flying geese from each set. Here we go. Alrighty. I'm going to set them over here to the side actually. And I will start with sewing each one to a side. Change my stitch length a little. I think somebody just got home, so probably gonna stop here for a little bit. All right, I'm gonna go check out who's here and what's happening, and I will come back and we'll just cruise right through all these for the flying geese. Okay, did you catch my couple of faux pas there? So apparently I was spacing out and started to sew all my fabrics on the same side of the backgrounds and forgot that I needed to separate them out so I have the other side of the flying geese. And then this piece I accidentally left over on my cutting table. So there we go. Now I've got my chain piece and I just need to get them cut apart. And then I will flip it around and actually sew down the other side here, and I will create an extra little piece for myself, a little half square triangle for myself for a scrappy project. Alright, so I was trying to show you this step from a distance, but the furnace is running and I'm fairly certain that I can't be heard, so I figured I'd go ahead and do a close-up. So I have the first part of my flying geese done, and I have gone ahead and sewn on the half square triangle as well. So I've gone ahead and cut this one already. I'll show you on this next one here. I basically just flipped it around and also sewed my half square triangle. So now I just need to cut them apart, and then I will have my half square triangle to set off to the side to use in a different project later on. I didn't necessarily get perfect 1/4 inch seams. I usually just wing it and turn it around and sew again. But I do I make sure that I get the 1/4 inch for the project that I'm working on, and then this is just scrappy. And so what I will do with that is I actually will put my fabrics back into the box until I'm done with the quilt. And so these are still, well, actually you can't probably see them. All of these are still needing to be cut on for the additional blocks, but I've cut out this stuff here, and so these are really, really scrappy strings, so I put those in one bag. These are some scrappy pieces that I didn't need for the first block, but maybe I'll need a small piece or something, and then I can refer back to this and grab them out of there. And then I am actually going to do a bag of half square triangles for this project, because I expect that I'm going to have an awful lot of them, being that it's a heart quilt. So it's a heart quilt with star points. So there's going to be a lot of half square triangles out of it, and I will probably be able to come up with a mini quilt when I'm done. So, or at least, if not a lap quilt, a mini quilt anyhow. So I will put all those in here, and I will just have them sewn, but I will continue dealing with them whenever I decide to do that project. So I won't bother iron them or anything like that. I'll just have them sewn, and then when I get ready to do the project, I'll iron them and trim them down to the perfect size and go from there. But for right now, I have the sewn part done, and I'm going to continue with my project. So, but I will use my box to hold everything until I'm done with it. So, alright, I'm going to keep cutting all these, and I don't know why I just dropped all that fabric on top of the bag that I'm going to use to put all my pieces in. But anyhow, so I will keep trimming these off, and I will come back when I've actually got the flying geese finished. We've sewn our flying geese together. I've gone ahead and broken them up so that they're on all 4 sides of what will be the inside of the block, and on our 2 of each color I've gone ahead and sewn the cornerstones on. So I've got my top piece, and then I've got my bottom piece all set and ready to go. Now we're going to work on actually making the heart in the center of the block. So I'm going to sew the D squares on as half square triangles on one corner. I'm going to do that on opposite corners for the heart, and then I will sew the E squares on the inside corners to create that point of the heart. Then we'll actually come back and sew half square triangles at the bottom so that we create the bottom point of the heart. Alright, well that's actually all pretty easy. So I am just going to go ahead and sew, and I will come back just before I finish the block. Alright, so my center heart is complete, and I hope I didn't confuse anybody there, because the pattern actually calls for you to sew this square on this side and then do the little E on this corner piece here and then do the outer bottom and then repeat for the second side. I just went ahead and sewed both of these on and then sewed both of the bottom pieces on, just so that I could get up from my chair then and go over to my big table and cut the half square triangle off that I had turned it around, and sewed the half square triangle as well, and on both of these. And then you saw on the E, that's such little fabric. When you sew that on there, it's going to be such little excess fabric right there that I just cut it off with scissors. So that went just a little bit faster for me then. And so now I am ready to sew the rest of my blocks together. And yeah, sew it together and we've got block 1 done. Well, we've got our blocks all sewn together for the first round. Let me show a couple of them here. So we got the gray, pinks, peaches, red. Yeah, so 5 blocks for the first round. And I believe I decided that there are 6 blocks in this pattern. I checked it earlier and now I can't remember again. Inventory week, I'm telling you. I'm extremely tired right now. So, it's kind of one of those things where when you work overnights and you're extremely tired and then you try to lay down and go to sleep during the day and you just can't sleep. So just stay up and try to keep doing things and then go back to trying to go to sleep till you get to the point where you just sleep for hours. Anyhow, so blocks are done for the first release. I will most likely come back with release 2 around the same time probably that the Fat Quarter Shop starts the quilt along for Moonbeams for this year's charity quilt along. And this will be block 2 then. Isn't it pretty? I can't wait. I almost wanted to try to get it done for this week, but I just ran out of time. So anyhow, I was going to put them back into my box, except my box is still full from all the other pieces that we're going to have to use. So I'm going to put my pattern here on the top. I do have my scraps in here as well. And then I think, actually I might be able to get my blocks in there. I just thought I was going to have to fold them and I didn't want to have to fold them, so I thought maybe I would just leave them on top of the box. But we'll see. Yeah, they're not going to fit, so of course if they were maybe together a little bit more, they might. Just about. Actually, they kind of do. So I'll put them in there and then close that up. And next thing I have that I'm going to put on top of this box is actually my bag here for my cross stitch. So I've got all the supplies in here and everything. And then this is how far I've gotten on the cross stitch pattern. So there is actually another row right here that I need to do. And this right here is about halfway. So I'm going to have to do some more of the framework. And then, like I said, that's about halfway. So I've started some of the hearts and stars. I would say I'm probably 10 to 15% done. And so if I'm about 15% done, and I'm going to work on these blocks for 6 months, I should be able to get most of this done around the same time that I finish the quilt. So I'm going to go ahead and bag this back up and put it with my box, and next time I work on the quilt, I'll work on my cross stitch at the same time. But I will take it off of the Q-snap and bag that back up. So for next week I don't really know what to work on exactly. Well, I know what I'm going to work on, but I can't show it to you yet. I have 2 projects that I can't show you until the beginning of April. So I'm going to have to try to come up with some other small things that I already know of a couple small things that I want to do, so shouldn't be any problem. But, well, I mean, it's never any problem. A couple of the things that I'm going to start on now that I'm going to put my other cross stitch away for a little bit is I want to do this little cross stitch it's a freebie from Silver Creek Samplers for St. Patrick's Day. I thought that would be really cute, and I'm going to just do it on, I think it's a 14 count Ada. Well, I mean, I know it's a 14 count. I think it's Ada. And it's a little bit dark, but I thought it would still be cute, so. And then the other pattern that I'm going to try to work on before St. Patrick's Day, I love this little poem here. May your troubles be less and your blessings be more, and nothing but happiness come through your door. So I would like to try to take some Ada cloth and give it a dye. I'm thinking a green dye, but I'm not exactly sure how it's going to turn out, because I believe these would have to be a very dark greens rather than the yellowy greens. But I'm going to try to do the cloth first, and we'll go from there. So I may only have the cloth to show next week. Hopefully I'll have it. And I'll be working on this one here. So I'm going to put that in my bag here and get to work on that. And then I have a couple other little projects little things to put together from Christmas boxes, so I may do a little bit of that. Might also just like go visit the chickens or something like that. So, and actually we have apple trees in at the store, so I'm kind of thinking I might need to replace at least 4 of the apple trees out in our little seedling orchard. So we got some 2-year-old apple trees out there that hopefully this year will bear some good fruit, but most of them were really just seedlings that were only about knee height, and some of them just did not make it through the winter with the deer around here. So I think I may get some trees that are a little further along already and plant those this spring. Don't think that'll happen this week though, but we did get them in at the store, so maybe. Alright, well, I'm trying to think. So the other thing I wanted to go over is the 2 projects that I can't really show you yet. One of them is totally secret, and the other one is part of the collaboration that Sew Becca put together. And Sean, from The Guy Who Sews, has actually done his portion of it already in February 1st, I mean, and Elizabeth from Goody Goods will be working on her row and it's supposed to be posted beginning of March, and then mine will be posted beginning of April. So I'm kind of thinking about what I need to do and gonna get started on making my row. So I just hope you'll stay tuned and watch out for that, and I'll put a link below to Sean's video. And yeah, what else have I got going? Oh, probably a few things, but yeah, we'll come back with a few things next week, and I'll see you then, and in the meantime, thanks for watching, and I'm sorry I seem so tired, but it's because I am. So, I'll see you next week. Bye. Oh, I almost forgot. The thing that I really wanted to say is stay tuned for just a minute, and I'm actually going to show you a couple pictures from a project that I'm finishing, a cross stitch that I'm finishing, and I want you to give me an opinion as to whether you like the first one or the second one, so that because I haven't totally finished it. The pictures look like it, but I haven't glued it all down yet, so please let me know in the comments. And yeah, let me know in the comments. All right, thanks. Bye.